As Judge just starts saying hello.
Hello.
I wanted to make sure my
Hello.
microphone was working, and it is.
Live here.
Pardon
Shut up,
me.
everybody.
Pardon me. Is it cold and emotionless in here, or is it just you?
Okay,
I like
that's
that
pretty good. That's pretty good.
So, hey,
And
Peanut
that one, by the way, doubles as a Niles joke on Frasier, talking about his wife.
Oh, I just
Oh.
realized that the cats.
Lilith is here. I knew I felt something cold and emotionless enter the room.
Oh, I never got why people like that show.
Oh,
Hey,
It
I
just
love
didn't do
that
it.
show. My sister told me that I couldn't let her kids watch that.
I
I don't have a
like
problem with that
Frasier.
show. It just never did it for me.
Mhm.
I liked Frasier.
I didn't like Frasier because he just got so I don't know. He
Pedantic.
There was
not
definitely
pedantic. I don't know. He was just. I would not like him if I met that character in person.
there
You
was
wouldn't like
a
it if you met him in
sibling
person.
rivalry, and that was like the main focus of that series is to show that sibling rivalry.
Yeah. There is. I
'Cause
mean,
they both went into the same field,
they both went into the
but
same field
in different directions.
completely different directions.
All right, I believe my YouTube stream is now live. So, hi everybody.
Wahoo!
Hey, Pet Gorilla.
Woo.
Greetings,
hear me okay?
people of Earth
My-
and
my
assorted
second
various
check.
creatures.
All right, let's do the roll call. We got Bradley
Hello.
above me.
Hold up.
Come on, Tom. Hello.
Tom,
Hello.
Bunny, and all the way at the far end, that's Jim.
Hello.
His setup's completely
And of course, the
different
way
than
he's pointing is completely different than the rest of us see it. But
mine.
Cricket.
Yeah.
Well, this is from my view.
What?
Anybody
I
on
see on
YouTube?
my screen, that's Bunny, that's Judd, that's Bradley, that's Jim, and that's the slide screen.
And on mine, it's a little bit more logical, but whatever, guys.
I just have all of you on one side.
Yes, that's what I did.
I've actually got everyone front and center tonight, so because the camera's right there, so I'm not like doing this like I have been the last few weeks. Yeah, everybody. So I want to tell you about this thing.
The classic speech foible: don't stare off screen.
Yeah. Well, have you heard that there is a little bit of tech news? Someone has finally developed a phone camera that can be embedded in the screen. So we will finally have the thing like they have in Star Trek, where when you're looking at your phone, you're actually looking at the camera when you're looking at the screen, instead of where it always is like, see, I'm looking at you guys right now, but the camera's up here. No, it's going to be, I'm looking at you guys right now, and you're looking at me. So you can currently see on that screen, you can currently see just the slightest amount of a slight dark dot where the camera is. But excuse me, that's obviously going to get better to the point where you won't even notice anymore that there's a camera behind the LCD.
Hopefully, maybe one of these days. Sure, why not?
It was really hard to look at the little black
So,
dot.
Tom, would you like
Okay.
to move us on to the first thing?
Yes, ma'am. Tonight
He's kept
we
down.
have the Star Trek Lower Decks episode 9 and season finale to discuss. Those were the biggest episodes of the season. We have 100 nerdy questions. Those will be scattered through the night. So, Bunny will talk about a few and we'll all laugh and not answer them correctly, I'm sure.
I forgot to add my line to the to the
I'm-
index.
I'm going completely low tech tonight, and we're going to talk about the height of 70s music technology. 2 full moons, Blue Moon for Halloween. Zen 3 with Judd the Spud Sandage. Judd the Spud Sandage?
I don't know why she went with that.
I think she did that
And,
to see if anyone was paying attention.
And everyone's favorite god at the center of the Milky Way is going to talk to us about some of the new Star Trek fans.
He's just shaking his
No.
head.
Our focus
No,
tonight is going to be
no.
Star Trek Continues, and we'll let Jim take that away when the time comes. And of course, our favorite space station, Starport Omega, out here at the edge of the galaxy, probing your exhaust port. Wait, probing your exhaust. Never mind.
You just can't get part of the probing and the exhaust part, can you?
Be sure to stop because this is the last fuel for 50 million light years. All right, so Bunny.
Okay,
Who's
so you guys want your first
God,
Your
we
first
should all
nerdy
really
question
drink
of the
more
night?
before we start this.
Shoot, go for it.
Okay. This is a Star Trek question. How long after the original series did Star Trek The Next Generation take place in their timeline?
Ah, crap.
70 years.
I remember the century difference. I don't remember the actual number of years.
If I recall correctly, it was 80 years.
I thought it was 70.
It's, if I recall, also it's roughly 80 years. I don't remember. I want to say like 84 or something like that. But I mean, it was obviously McCoy was still around. He was like 120 years old, but everybody else had passed on except for Captain Scott and James.
Do not Google it. If you Google it, you cannot say it.
If you Google it, you lose.
Well,
Okay,
I don't have a
so
dog in this fight, so
The correct answer 100 years.
What? No, that's not
What?
right. You said the
Everything
original
I could find.
series, right?
The original series, the end of the original series, and the start of Next Generation in their storyline.
Oh. Okay, we
Hey.
are so going to
No Googling.
to the Google machine.
change windows. I'm just going to share my second screen in full so we can see what's going on. Okay, we're going to go to Memory Alpha for this.
Where else would you go?
Yeah. So we're looking for Star Trek.
The original
we're
series,
looking- we're looking
the
for a
very
pilot.
last episode of the original series,
Right,
and the first episode of
Actually, I
The
think
Next
she
Generation.
may be right, because didn't they say McCoy was 132 years old in the first episode?
Let's find. Okay, hold on. So 2269. Somebody write that down. 2269.
2269.
I remember.
So that was the end of the original series. And then Enterprise TNG. What? Why is TNG not in here? Am I missing something here?
If you can't find TNG.
Ah,
then
that's because
I'll
never
say
mind. Never
yes.
mind.
Yeah, I was gonna say 24th century.
2364.
So 95.
Yeah, that's 95 years.
years.
5 years.
69 to 64. Crap. Yeah, that's 95
So-
years. I always thought it was around 80 years.
what I found. I double checked it on like 6 sites. Is they all said 100 years. So 95's pretty close. It's a lot closer than 60.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is.
All I remember
All
is-
of us were wrong. 1 point
Yep.
for Bunny.
All I remember was 23rd century and 24th century. That's all I remembered.
Okay. So
Mhm.
spoilers on top of spoilers.
Bunny, are there spoilers?
There's spoilers ahead.
There might be spoilers. Everyone, make sure that you know that there might be spoilers. I don't know if there's spoilers.
Hey.
Judd, are there spoilers?
It looks like there's some spoilers ahead.
Could be spoilers.
Okay.
Also, have we actually done a mic check? Let's do a mic check real quick. I'm gonna pull up my
yeah. Let me
Twitch.
go. Yeah, I'll pull it up.
I got it.
I'll pull it up on my phone.
Can you bring up the slideshow? Since you just went back to.
I like
Whatever that
Memory
is.
Alpha. Okay.
I'm beginning to think there may be a minor spoiler ahead. I'm guessing that my mic's doing just fine then. Let's start the infinite echoes though, just because I'm going to be extra precautious.
Echo, 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 echo.
Cautious. Yeah.
And you sound good on my end.
Yeah.
You sound good on my end.
Let's start the infinite echoes though, just because I'm. That's the fun part.
Right.
The echoes.
All the echoes.
Oh, recall.
So
Yeah, of
I
course
probably
it's getting ridiculous.
should have started singing there if I really wanted to annoy you.
You can't annoy me that much.
Oh.
Oh, I could annoy you in 3 words.
Oh.
Go for it.
Listen, little miss.
Eh.
Ooh, this is gonna be my challenge for the night.
Oh, you never
Nah,
gonna
she's
No,
already
there is
threatened to break my
actually
shins.
one word. There is actually one word that can trigger like absolute destruction.
Yeah, and let's
Okay.
not do that. Okay.
Yeah, let's not go after that one. I want to annoy you, not end up in the hospital finding out I had an orotomy, or however you pronounce that, because you kicked me so hard. Or
And the cat cam is up and running. For those of you who are here for Prissy.
Mao.
Well, I mean, who wouldn't be?
Right?
Actually, I'm going to pull this up and leave it on my phone, but turn the volume all the way down.
I'm going to beat all of you. What the hell's going on here?
I mute it. Oh, that way I can see any chat messages.
Can I put this in there? She's like, I don't know what you're doing, human, but stop.
Oh,
Okay.
damn it. I just cursed myself.
Uh-oh, what'd you do?
I was thinking of things I could do to annoy Bunny, and I got the most evil song in the world stuck in my head now.
It's a small world after all.
Yes.
I hate
Eh.
Uh,
Okay, anyways.
We're
may
not
we
allowed to sing it,
continue to
'cause-
lower decks.
yes.
Lower decks! Lower decks! Woohoo!
To the lower decks.
Well, as we all know, anybody who watched the show, last week was the movie within a television show. Obviously, it might be called Crisis Point: The Rise of Vindicta, but I'm not entirely sure.
Vindicta.
So we all know that we all have been watching, and we've all been watching Mariner, wondering what the hell is up with her. At the beginning of the series, we find out that she's the captain's daughter, and we basically figured out that she's been rebelling all this time to avoid responsibility and basically trying to be Peter Pan and not have to grow up. It rose to the point where she was ordered into therapy. But rather than visit the ship's counselor, she decided to create a movie on the holodeck and put cast all of her friends as villains in the show. So what did you guys think? Up to date, I thought that was the most hilarious episode of the whole bunch.
For me, the season finales took the cap for funniest.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that one, I had to pause that so often. I was laughing.
So we're gonna talk about this episode first.
Yeah, we're on Rise of Vindicta right now, though.
Yep. So I have my love-hate relationship with these last two episodes, and the first thing I'm gonna say is Boimler is not. I don't know. He's not my cup of tea. And he does things throughout the second to last episode of this season that just outright irk me. And the thing is, he had redeemed his personality the episode before. Like, oh, he actually has a discernible personality outside of bootlicker. And it's like they do give a little bit here and there, but they try to inch back in that non-bootlicker personality in the final. But we'll talk about that when we come to it.
Oh yeah, because I have a lot to say about Boimler in the final episode.
Okay.
But yeah, and this one is really Mariner's story. I mean, it really is. Just the whole relationship between her and the captain, and that scene where she's fighting herself, and we finally really get to the heart what her her attitude and stuff.
Issues.
Yeah. I don't know about the heart of her issues, but we definitely got to see who she really is. And I loved it. I loved that the holodeck character was actually telling her who she really is. And she's like a little bit surprised at when all this finally comes out. And Boimler's program had to tell her what her the truth of her own personality. And she actually cares.
Yeah, she cares too much.
No.
Well, because that's
I don't think it's. I don't think it's too much. I think she cares, but she doesn't. Like, the past her did not want to care. She didn't want that responsibility. She didn't want everyone else's lives on her shoulders. She wanted to be, like Tom said, she wanted to be Peter Pan.
I think you actually said exactly what I was about to say. Everybody's lives on her shoulders. We know that in the previous episode with the babysitter captain that she is of the same academy class as her friend, who is now literally a captain. Mariner could be a captain right now. So, and we know that she's done covert ops. She's done something to the point where half of Starfleet is indebted to her. And it seems like, because some of the greatest heroes in Starfleet, are like, okay, now we're even. So what did she do? What happened? Something big happened in her past that not only made her a, what are we, Jim? Big damn heroes. Not only made her a big damn hero, but also scared her so badly that she doesn't want responsibility. Be interesting to see what that is if in the future, if we get there.
So, Jed, what did you think of this episode?
I thought it was okay. I actually liked the last episode better. Of course.
Okay, so Jim, do you have anything to say about this episode?
Not really, no.
How about you, Final?
Mr. Snorts a lot. I found it interesting because it took what we normally see as Star Trek and flipped it on its head. It presented us with a point of view that we typically don't ever see in Star Trek, which is the good guys being bad. And as a result, it shows a reflection of her that she wasn't ready to handle. And it kind of hit her. The way they presented this showed her in a light that she truly didn't want to acknowledge, and it gave her character a level of depth that we hadn't really seen yet. And that's kind of awesome, because that's the kind of character building that classic Star Trek has been famous for. And even though this is supposed to be a comedy series, that they're still including a lot of the classic aspects of Star Trek that I really loved growing up and seeing and learning.
Yeah. So it's got the right amount of drama.
Oh, yeah. But they used the drama as a lever for absolute comedy. Again, I had to pause this episode a great many times to laugh because it was too many good lines.
Oh, yeah. And I love how they wove the comedy. They wove the comedy into the plot organically instead of throwing it on top like sometimes you'll see.
Which is actually a hallmark of the guy that's leading the series. And my brain just blanked on his name. He did the same thing in Community. He wove the comedy in, and it made the series so much better as a result. It wasn't, we're going to shoehorn in a comedy line here, laugh track. No, this is genuinely funny.
My favorite two moments in this episode, those damn credits. The credits just, I was laughing so hard.
And hitting them on the head.
And then, is anybody gonna guess number two?
Honestly, there were too many, dude.
That Starship porn moment when they're approaching the Cerritos in dock.
Oh, that
they just stole that straight out of the motion picture, and they're doing the approach and they're doing the flyer, and the engineer's just got tears streaming out of his eyes. It's so beautiful. I was dying. And at the end, like the switch, spinning around, the camera spinning around the circle. I wish we could show that section of video without getting copyright striked, but
no, unfortunately not. This is all pushing the limits.
Too risky these days.
Okay, so we have other slides.
Okay, that was from the same episode and the final two episodes. And the final episode was I'm going to say this may be the most dramatic episode of any Star Trek episode I've ever seen. There's so much going on here, and so much happened.
Basically, right at the beginning, the other California class ship.
Dude, and wasn't that amazing when they? I mean, I'm sad that the entire crew died, but that effect when they grabbed it and the thing went to warp and the entire ship just that was incredible for a cartoon. I mean, You're over here thinking, okay, it's a comedy series, but the effects in this series have been incredible sometimes.
So they took one of the most vocal characters in the series. He's a background character, but they took one of the most vocal characters in this series, and poof. We're starting to get to know his personality. He becomes this
And then they ruined him.
hero,
Yeah.
and they took a very masculine, a very Worf-esque character. Oh, thank you for the follow. But they took a very Worf-esque character and they just did away with him. So emotionally,
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean,
And it really irked me. It's one of those moments where I know that I have issues because I was mad that they made me emotional.
I'll tell you what,
How dare
though.
you make me feel my own feelings, you cartoon?
Weren't you super happy for him? At like the end of that, when he's getting to fly that shuttle in there and getting to finally be a badass, dude. I'm like, that's the one. That's the moment Worf wish he had. That's the moment Michael Dorn wish he had every episode of TNG. He was wishing he had a moment like that.
That is the only thing that you could be so glad for that specific character is the fact that they give him that warrior's death that type of character craves.
And that dude went out with style.
Yeah. At the same time, though, it's just like one of those. It's an emotion grabber, but I dislike the fact that they don't reference it more. I really do dislike the fact that they did not reference his death more at the end.
Give him a bigger funeral. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of replicated
his was the most Bajoran.
And they straight up replicated the scene from the death of Spock.
Yeah.
It's a small crew. It's the close ones with him, and those that stood beside him at the ends that were there.
Yeah.
It's traditional Star Trek. That it's not this huge hullabaloo. This isn't like Star Wars where you have a massive funeral. This is the people that knew him and cared the most.
It wasn't even the funeral. It's the forethought of watching her look at his earring, and then she just closes it and puts it on a shelf. That has a lot of meaning to it. There's a lot of meaning behind that. It shows you just how secondary of a character that character actually was.
I think she gave it as much time as they could in a 30. I mean, as it is, that episode ran long. That episode was 30 minutes long, and they can't even air that full thing on broadcast.
Boimler
TV.
got too much airtime that episode. They could have done a little.
Absolutely not.
Here's the thing.
I'm going to come back to Boimler. Like I said, I got a lot to say.
So mad at Boimler. I am.
Yeah, I'm of two minds on that. But here's the thing about that scene of her closing it on the shelf. Did you notice the other items just like that? She had 3 shelves and was full of stuff like that.
Yes,
the impact of that little chunk is just like, how many times has she had to do that? And the fact that she's been through that ringer that many times to where it's.
But that's not a character that they emotionally attached us to.
Oh, I freaking love that. That's not a character I was totally attached to him.
Exactly. That's what
she's saying. That's what she's saying. None of the other people on that shelf were people that we knew. This guy was. I'll tell you though, think about it. Thinking about it though, aside from a Klingon, it would not a Bajoran be the best security officer in Starfleet? I mean, that they grew up just like the Klingons. They grew up knowing nothing but war. And then they put this guy. They take them out of the war because Cardassia finally abandons Bajor. And now you got all these people that grew up fighting suddenly with nothing to do. Putting him in a security post was probably the best thing they could have done to him. And then at the end,
but taking the culture of war, they're highly paranoid. They're always looking for the thin end of a wedge coming from any angle. Their knee-jerk reaction is fire and ask questions never. temper that against the typical diplomatic approach of a captain you see in the TNG Plus era, with this absolute hidebound warrior that wants to defend them. You get this nice little mix between the two, and that's a really good point and counterpoint between them. You got a juxtaposition of the position that Starfleet is in. We want to be peacekeepers, but at the same time, we have to be willing to go to war.
Yeah.
Okay, so then how do you feel of the whole Rutherford situation?
Oh God, that actually hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That hurt.
Seeing all his memories wiped out, and I think this being animated and this being Star Trek, like in Supernatural, no one stays dead. I think that in the next series, in the next season, we're going to see his implant restored, and he'll be back to normal.
Didn't he say in the first episode or two that he had backups?
Yeah, the first episode of the next the next season, we're going to see him with a new dome on his head, and he's going to be his usual self. Either that, or he and Tendi have gotten to be best friends all over again. I mean, she was so excited over that.
She's so excited over everything.
Yeah, but her face when she realized that, when it finally hit before she got all chipper again, her face looked like she was just completely crushed. And then like the uber optimistic side just kind of took over.
Oh, okay. Frack me with a spoon. I just realized, Brad. What's happening there. Do you remember when she said peanut hamper? And she's like, that's the best name ever. Okay. That later she says that was a dumb name anyways. Is it possible that her reaction is to pretend something is awesome while she secretly hates it? Yeah.
It's her coping mechanism.
Her coping mechanism is to be excited.
If he doesn't get his memory back, he has a program on the ship that's still on the fucking ship in the holodeck. That wants to fucking kill him. And guess what? He doesn't even fucking know.
Oh.
That was like my first thing. As soon as I realized that he has no memory of this, that holy fuck, he's actually in a little bit of trouble.
A little? He's going to find that later with no memory and bad things are going to happen. Gosh.
Yeah, he'll start reviewing his holodeck programs and be like, oh, Badgie, how are you doing, buddy? Die.
Turn off safety mode.
Okay,
like
my other
protocols.
Our other bridge officer that we would love to hate. How much do you like that six-pack, Bunny? Is that not the man of your dreams right there?
Okay, don't get me wrong. I immensely enjoy characters like Thor and how much effort those actors go into becoming buff. But literally, when she describes him as a meathead, and then he goes all like lizard cross-eyed doing deadlifts, you can't help but vomit a little.
It's like, oh, I've met people like them. They're assholes.
This is how I process.
Get out! I need to think. Like, okay, sorry.
He's such.
Sorry.
By the way,
here's the thing. Here's the thing about him, Ransom. Ransom is so competent. Even though he's like the blondest blonde you've ever seen, figuratively speaking, he's competent. He's a good officer. I mean, think about it for a second. We all thought he was going to fail in that fist fight with Tiny, right? And he went out there and he kicked the guy's butt.
Yeah.
And again here, even though he's constantly, you keep thinking he's going to make a fool of himself. He's shown himself to be a good officer, despite the fact that he's a little bit. I don't even know how to describe this guy. This scene.
So real quick. Shit. I didn't even move that. I'm trying to move
have you recognized who his voice actor is? Famous for a very, very popular sci-fi series on Fox. Oh, come on. You're not even going to guess?
No clue.
No.
It's Jerry O'Connell, famous for Sliders in the 90s.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
I didn't recognize
I
it
did
either.
not even get that.
Oh my goodness.
Apparently, he does a ton of voice acting work. I loved him in Sliders, and he's done a bunch of other series that he was really good in. But seeing him in this role, it's like I did not recognize the voice. I recognized nothing about it, and he fits that character so damn well.
Absolutely, he does a fantastic job.
He does a great job. If you bring us back to the slides,
Yeah.
we missed one important thing that is a big part of the transition between the two images that I have on here.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk a little bit about Boimler.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Mler.
Where do we start?
Okay, so number one, Boimler, just for some background, damn it, I keep doing the wrong thing. I need to stop doing that.
Do we do the Sulu maneuver?
No, yeah, let's go with the
Clueless
have
Lickspittle.
broken- he is by the fucking books, not because he breaks the rules and he takes everyone's private logs and installs them on the fucking holodeck. By the fucking books, my ass, motherfucker. Okay, so then not only does he do that, but he does it for his own benefit. No one else's, his own. Okay? So that's just a little background on what's going on between these two transitional slides here.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what. Here's the thing. What was it? The first episode, Boimler gets called to the bridge, right? Remember, he goes up there, and it's just like he's completely, just totally lost in his own head, to the point where he can barely even respond to people trying to talk to him. He's just walking through the bridge to get to the captain's ready room. And what did we see in this episode? He was just competent. Again, I keep using the word competent.
Outside of having
But
to
he
meet
was-
with the captain.
But in this episode, when he was sitting there at the console doing his job, he was good. We see that Boimler is good at his job when he gets out of his own way and actually focuses
He
on what he's
stops
When he
doing
pulls his
over
head out of his ass.
instead of his stage fright. Exactly. And I was really impressed with his performance as a Starfleet officer in this episode, because finally we saw Boimler kicking ass. Figuratively
Yeah.
speaking, he didn't actually go kick anybody's ass, but he did what he needed to do. He was good at his job. He was flying the ship. He had this stuff with the bridge. I like that Boimler.
Yeah, and that's where
I
they
dislike
add
the Boimler that's like,
nature after he makes a complete and total mockery of the captain, her daughter, and himself.
Oh, that scene on the planet when he's up.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Let me
well, you
kiss
know what-
your
you
ass
see
what he's
because
doing,
that's what I'm
And
good
he's-
at.
What he's
I was
doing,
cracking up.
what he's doing is unfortunate, but it was kind of, we saw the beginnings of it 2 or 3 episodes ago. Remember when Mariner got promoted, and Boimler's like, oh, so that's how you get ahead in this ship, is you screw up and then they promote you. So suddenly Boimler's living the Dilbert principle. And so what did he do? Remember that? He started acting like a jerk. He went up and spilled. He went and spilled coffee on Ransom, and so this is kind of a follow up in this episode. He's still following that same thing. Unfortunately, he's learned the wrong lesson from Mariner. Instead of the lesson being, loosen up, get out of your own head, get out of your own way, and go with what you're good at. He was trying to be a goof up, a screw up, and thinking that was the way Mariner got ahead, completely not realizing that Mariner was where she was because she's actually
competent.
Not only that, but she's where she is because she's running from something, not because she's good at her job.
Yeah.
Because again, we know she's at least 10 years older than he is. She should be a commander right now. She should at least be a commander, not
She should be in the
an
officer ranks.
Yeah, she should be up there on the bridge of a starship herself.
Outside of the fact that she's afraid of that, she's more than capable of it. She has the knowledge, she has the experience, and she knows how to handle herself in critical situations. She just does not want the responsibility.
Okay, so
Which
question
again, I
number
hope they
2.
explore in next season.
I'm gonna be interrupting all night. It's gonna be great because I
Oh,
never get
yeah.
to interrupt. Question number
Oh, is
two
it turn for
tonight.
nerd question 2? Okay.
Mm-hmm. When first released, what character was originally called Jumpman?
I have no context for that.
It's video game. When first released, what character was originally called Jumpman?
Was,
It's
Oh,
Nintendo,
Oh, Super
Mega
Mario
Man.
Brothers.
yeah.
Mario.
Oh,
Which is a problem because Epix had created a game called Jumpman in 1982, I believe it is, for the Commodore 64 and a couple of other platforms. One of my favorite games on the
Okay.
Commodore 64, actually.
So yeah, now we can totally yeah. Peanut Gorilla's just like Mario.
I
Point
think
goes
I'm gonna
Peanut
lose my.
Gorilla.
I think I'm gonna lose my nerd card by the end of this night. Damn it!
Okay, so I'm gonna actually do 2 questions,
All right.
just because I'm only like very slowly into my questions. The NES was originally referred to as what?
Family
It had a
computer?
nickname,
The
huh?
Famicom.
Yeah, the Famicom, the family computer. That is correct, you guys.
Well, this isn't really the nickname. That was actually the name they called it. It actually said Famicom right on the.
Yeah, but
And
it's
Nintendo-
referred to as NES.
Well, in the
Which
United
is-
Nintendo
States,
Entertainment System in the United States. In
Yeah.
Japan,
Famicom
where it was
in
originally
Japan.
released, it was the Famicom.
Well, we're not in Japan.
And another bit of trivia, the Famicom did not have removable controllers, which left a lot of the options for the NES off the table on the original Famicom.
Okay.
This
Okay, here's an easy one, and the
Okay.
first of you to actually like say something is gonna get a small round of applause. Who
Okay.
played R2D2?
Oh crap!
Kenny Baker.
Baker.
There we go.
Yes.
I'm a Star Wars nut, and I completely blanked on that.
Mhm.
Then again,
Yep.
outside of like Mark Hamill and
Okay.
damn it, my brain is refusing to work today. I cannot remember names. Like, oh my
Okay,
god,
we're gonna go back to lower decks.
the bleach is soaking in.
Stop drinking the Kool-Aid.
This was my first squee moment. When that little when the shuttle door opened and that little exocomp floated up from the chair. I was excited. I'm banging on the back of my daughter's chair, and she's like, "Please stop."
Yeah, because I
Oh my
remember
God.
those from when I was watching TNG when it was broadcasting as a kid. I just remember being completely just like, it's a little robot, but it thinks for itself. It's
Well, and,
cool.
And I just watched this episode probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. The one with the exocomps, and it's just interesting how we keep seeing the week they mentioned Babysitter Captain. I had literally just watched Jellicoe's episode the week before, and it's funny how these little synergies keep happening. Like, we keep running into these callbacks as I'm rewatching. As
Almost
TNC
like
is going through the
readers watch TNG before writing content.
Well, no, what I mean is that this keeps happening coincidentally. There's a podcast that I listen to that has been recapping episodes, and it seems like that podcast recaps an episode, and then the next week it's on this show, and it's not like that was planned. I mean, it's not like the guys that created Lower Decks have anything to do with the next conversation guys, but it's just an interesting little coincidence.
Oh god. The core
Also-
of my brain just came back for the
Yeah.
guy the head writer for Lower Decks, Dan Harmon. Wow, that's a lag.
Anybody else have anything to say about the little Trader Peanut hamper before we go on to the next slide?
I like how they literally replicated exactly what happened in TNG, where it's like this cool little
Yeah.
thing, and then it's like really bad at one thing, then they put in this other field where they think it's going to be worse, and it's actually absolutely amazing,
Super,
and then it turns into a giant pain in the ass. And I was like, "Yep, that's that's pretty much what happened in TNG."
joined to piss off my father. Someone get that machine. It's pumpkin spice latte, so it can shut up.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I wonder if they'll have exocomp toys in in Walmart. And this,
Oh,
I
God,
I
yes.
literally woke up everyone in the house when this
Yes.
moment happened. I was so unaccountably excited when the
My favorite
USS
part-
Titan flew in and saved the fracking day. Sorry to mix my franchises. I was so excited. They did such a great job with Riker in this. Oh my gosh.
Not just Riker, but they made sure to include the wedding rings.
Yeah.
Well, and Marina Sirtis going, "We're going to talk about this." So I was like, "Oh, his reaction!"
And her sitting at the bar and handing the muscle brain his ass on a platter.
And
his response is, "He could work with that."
You're gonna love whatever they name that planet was. They have a little Risa there. Riker's like, "Oh, should we take the little Horta? No, let's take the one we normally take."
No. Deanna said, "Should we take the little
That's
Horgon?"
Right, yeah, take the one we normally take.
No, we'll take the one we normally take.
No, it was absolutely priceless. They got the characters. It sounded like they were having fun doing the voice acting for these characters. For this little bit, they got to do what they used to do, like they did in Picard, but they got to have serious fun with the characters.
Have you
the way they sounded like they were laughing between takes, and they finally got one, and they're still smiling because they were laughing.
Have you seen any of the interviews with Jonathan Frakes, or read or listened to any of the interviews with Jonathan Frakes whenever he's talking to someone about doing Picard or doing the Orville or doing any of the like Discovery
episodes? Orville?
He directed a couple of Orville episodes.
Oh,
he is. This is a man who truly loves his craft.
Yeah,
he loves what he's doing. He loves acting. But he loves directing, and he's so good at it. Every time you see him directing something, you know it's going to be a good episode.
I'm trying to remember.
The first time he directed a TNG episode, I saw directed by Will Frakes, or by Jonathan Frakes, and I'm like, oh, that explains why this was such a good one. Here's a trivia question: what was the first episode he directed?
No clue.
It was the one where Data built the daughter.
Yeah.
It wasn't just titled Daughter?
So I'm not counting that as one of my tonight, but thank you for trying.
No, I'm trying to remember. There was one show that it was a sci-fi show, and he was the director that was doing the episode. And the cast were all Star Trek fans. They grew up with TNG, and they are all fanboying over the fact that the director was Jonathan Frakes.
Yeah, that would be something for Jim to answer, who has stepped away.
But the part that was truly absolutely hilarious, they're like, please say it. And he just gets this look on his face, is like, this resigned. He's like, all right, everyone, places, sound, engage. And they literally started filming, and the entire cast and crew goes, yes. And they kept that as one of the extras for the DVDs. And they told no one about that. So when the DVDs came out of this series, and I wish I could remember, that was one of the first things, just like, engage. And it's like, huh? You go watch it. All these fans are having fun, and then you can kind of see, like, behind the scenes cameras, he's got this sly smile going, yeah, I still got it.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, he does a ton of directing, and whenever I'm watching sci-fi and I see him as a director, I always get a little more interested, because he tends to direct really complex episodes. But there's a lot of detail, there's a lot of storyline, or there's a lot of character building. So it's kind of like this little flag that flies up. If you see his name as director, it's going to be an interesting episode.
It's going to be an interesting episode. There's going to be a lot of character development, and it's usually going to be dramatic.
And I'm going to interrupt again. So, in Star Trek The Next Generation, what technology broke down if they needed story ideas?
The holodeck.
That was so easy, right?
Yeah. Holodeck is the most dangerous device on a starship.
Which is funny because it's based off of the technology of the transporter, which, short of the warp core, tends to be the most actually dangerous one.
Yeah. Although I think at some point Geordi said something about the transporter being the most safest way to travel, and the transporter accidents are like 1 in a billion or something like that.
How many did they have per season? At least 3.
Okay,
That's
so
correct.
I had to put a couple of questions like this in there, though.
Yeah.
So Star Trek Next Generation, which actor played 3 different characters in one episode?
Brent Spiner.
Data?
Yep.
Yeah, Brent
Well,
Spiner.
Data played. Data's. I'm sorry. Fistful of Datas.
Yes.
Well, also, there was the episode where he played Data, Lore, and Noonien Soon.
And Noonien Soon. Yeah.
Yeah. His brother, the father himself, basically. But yeah. Okay, so on to our next slide, if you would.
Retro recap.
Ooh.
That
So,
would be
can anybody guess what tonight's? Can anybody guess what tonight's fun, not computer-related topic is going to be?
Something I'm genuinely interested in because I'm actually doing something, and it's one of my favorite things.
So tonight, I have gone on a little bit of an analog kick the last few weeks, and so to back things up, this all started when my grandfather passed away. My mom, he's my mother's dad, and somehow my mother ended up with all of his records. He used to run a radio station. He used to own a radio station, more than one, I think, actually. And so I have tons of LPs and mostly 45s. I have hundreds of 45s from that they used to play on the air. So here's an example. This one's damaged, so I can handle it without worrying about it. Here's an example of one of the records. What's interesting about these is most of these records, they'll say something like "not for sale" on the record. These are promotional records that were actually given to the station. They didn't pay for them. Another interesting thing is most of these. This is not an example. Most of these are the same song on both sides. So you can play through one side, and if you wear that out, or if it gets a scratch on it, you can flip it over, and you've got a pristine copy on the other side. So I've been going through and playing some of these 45s, and just finding the ones that are songs I actually recognize, and pulling those out, getting rid of the ones like this one that are cracked or so badly warped that they will damage my player. And that brings us to my next little bit here. So my question is, can you guys see the full screen? Yes, you can. Okay. So I'm going to turn some more light on here. What's happening? So what we're looking at here, I built a desk when I moved over to this house. I set up a desk specifically for retro computing projects. It was going to be things like 8-bit computers. That little nook back there was going to run my emulators, my NES or whatever you want. But kind of along the way, it became my desk for my ham radio stuff as well. And just like anything that's more old enough that it's not modern. And tonight, this is my turntable desk. We went to, my daughter and I visited a record store today, and we found these two little guys. I think they're called Ugly Dolls. And they are just the cutest things, aren't they? This is actually Trey, whoever Trey is, as Lieutenant Uhura. So you can see we got the little mini dress and everything. So I forgot that Lieutenant Uhura was a red shirt. I'm really surprised she didn't get killed in the first act in any of the episodes. And then this little dude is actually a Comic-Con exclusive. Babo Bird as a red shirt.
Which explains why he's dead.
Yeah, he is dead, isn't he? I didn't even catch that. Good catch, Brad. Oh yeah, and here's a stack of, just to give you a small sampling. These are some of the. Where is it? I can't quite get things to go in the right direction. These are just a very,
You're standing
very
up.
small
Sit back
portion.
down. Sit back down. Sit back down. Sit back down. Okay, up a little bit.
These are a small portion of the records that I.
There we go.
This is just, I mean, literally, this is half of one box, and I have like 6 boxes out in the garage that are much, much bigger than this of records to go through. These are all things like Weekend by Wet Willie. Weekend by Wet Willie. I'm talking about. Whoops.
Okay, so as we're talking
Anyways,
retro, in
so-
the alternate timeline of 1985, what for Black to the Future, what Clint Eastwood movie is Biff watching?
Oh, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Nope.
Let's see, it was Eastwood. No, that wasn't Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Oh crap. I know it, and I can't remember the damn name.
For a fist full of dollars?
Yes.
I have it. I need
yeah,
to watch it.
I've seen. Like my dad's a huge Western fan, so I get him one Christmas I bought him a literal stack, like 10 or 15 classic Western movies. John Wayne, Clint Eastwood, some of the spaghetti westerns.
Okay, back to Tom.
No problem.
Sorry, I got to keep us on topic. I know I'm
Okay.
interrupting a lot, but
Okay, so anyways, I'll shorten this up a little bit. So after my grandfather passed away, my mom brought home all of his records and stuff like that. So I bought this. I thought, let's get these records to digital so we can listen to them on our MP3 players. So I got this Grace turntable. Nice, simple little turntable. It's got a USB sound card built into it, so you can plug this straight into a laptop and record your vinyl to MP3. And I thought this was such a great little record player until I actually started using it and found out some of the things that are wrong with it. Take a look. I don't know if you guys can hear this, but that thing is so loud. I can sit at my desk and listen to that song playing. It's just, there's so much needle talk on this thing. I'm going to come back to why that's a problem after I give you guys just a little bit of a run through. So for those people that are looking at the idea of possibly getting into collecting vinyl or collecting analog media in general, I wanted to talk real quick about some of the things that you want to look for. So this is not a buyer's guide. This is just the things that I found that are important if you're gonna buy a turntable. Don't make the mistake I did and buy anything, any of these little plastic turntables. What you want to avoid especially are these ceramic cartridges that will eat up your records. This is a little scale that we can use to measure the force that this needle puts on a record. And this one, quite frankly, come back here. This one's actually not that bad because this one only puts about oops, it didn't get a chance to set itself. Come on, you can do it. This one's putting about this one went to full. It's putting at least 5 grams of pressure on the records, and these records are not supposed to have more than about 4 grams of pressure on them, or it starts to your needle starts to eat away at the surface of the material. This table, watch what happens when this table's turning. Can you see that thing bouncing up and down as it rotates?
not really, but we'll take your word for it.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, the
Yeah,
table
I can
is so
see it.
warped.
It's got a lot of wobble.
Yeah, the table is so warped. The platter is so warped that it sometimes will actually rub back here when the low section comes by. And I ended up, so this is going to get, I'm actually going to take the belt off of this and use this as something to set my records on when I'm cleaning them. Because some of those records I have are dirty, they're dusty. Some even have mold on them. I mean, I pulled out one where the box was molded. And it's out in the garage right now because nobody wants to breathe that dust, or it was just mold all over. This, by the way, is the Star Trek to the soundtrack to the first episodes of Star Trek. The Cage was the original pilot, and then Where No Man Has Gone Before was the first pilot of the redone pilot. And this is available in Red Shirt Red, Command Gold, and Science Blue, depending on whether you're lucky enough to get one of the other colors. So you don't want to buy cheap ass junky turntables. Don't buy anything with a straight tone arm. What you want to get is a table with a few things. And again, this is just what I consider minimal. You want something with a tone arm that start with a removable head shell. So if I want to change my cartridge, it's just that easy. I mean, I can plug another cartridge in here. I may or may not need to adjust the tracking portion of the cartridge, and I'm done. You don't have to sit here and pull the little pins. If I want to play a 78 record, I can pop in a 78 cartridge just that fast. This tone arm is also adjustable. So back here, there's this little spinny counterweight can actually be moved in and out. And what that does is that changes the amount of pressure that the head puts on the record to allow the needle to track properly as you're playing it. Things like DJ cartridges actually need more weight because you're sitting here playing and the bass is bouncing your table and you don't want your record skipping as you're playing. And this one has a couple of nice little features that I like. It's got variable speed, so you can if you're mixing, you can actually speed the record up and slow it down a little bit to match the speed of two songs you're trying to mix together. I don't use it much, except that every once in a while you'll find a song that's been sped up or slowed down. And one of the Stranger Things soundtrack songs is actually too fast, so I slow it down when I play it to make it the right speed. And it has what's called quartz locked. This is probably the most important thing, aside from the good tone arm, is a quartz lock speed. So this table does not speed up and slow down as you're playing. If I put a weight on it here to stabilize a warped record, it doesn't slow down because it's heavier. The machine automatically compensates and automatically in order to keep the speed consistent. And you can't see it, unfortunately, in the video, but there's actually a little strobe over here, which is kind of cool to watch. You can see it now, how the strobe's basically not moving. It looks like it's staying in one place there. If you change the speed of the table, see how it starts to turn. It looks like it's crawling. That's because the table's going a little bit faster now than normal. And when I lock the speed in again, and if I take this guy off the top, it'll crawl for just a second and then it stabilizes it again.
Nice.
All turntables need a preamp. So if you buy a turntable, you either need an external box that will make your turntable loud enough to use on a speaker system, or you get a table like this guy that has a preamp built in. And there are a few other things. You're going to want to get yourself a cleaning kit. I bought this nice little cleaning kit for like $10. It comes with a standard record brush. You basically clean it by just kind of catching the dust and then brushing it off the record. And yes, this is how they tell you to do it. I'm not screwing my record up. By the way, this is exactly the wrong way to clean a CD. You never clean a CD this way. You always clean a CD outwards. But with vinyl, you want to clean it along the groove and then just kind of brush it off. Cleaning kit also includes a felt brush, and you use the felt brush with cleaning fluid in order to get off any dirt, mold, and you can also use a cleaning fluid with a microfiber cloth to get off something that's stuck to the surface. Like I had my Farewell to Kings. Is that the one, Jim? The one that has Cygnus X1 on it? Cygnus X1 actually had something stuck in the groove during the most important song. You know, that dun dun da da dun. That was just playing over and over and over again because it was like a little tiny white thing stuck in the groove. I managed to get it out with this and with the microfiber cloth. And by the way, don't buy cleaning fluid. If you buy one of these, and then this is basically just alcohol, water, and the tiniest bit of soap. You can make this yourself for a gallon of this for what this thing cost.
Yeah. Okay, so my quick interruption.
Analog. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so this is going to make everyone race to answer. I've got 2 questions for you. When referring to a website address, what does the acronym URL stand for?
Uniform Resource Locator.
You're so thrilled.
I finally get one that I actually know.
Actually, that's my uncle's name, Earl.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got
Earl.
The whole
Okay.
URI versus URL debate, which I
Here's
don't
a
even wanna get
tougher
into.
one. You guys ready? You're gonna love this one. What is the only state in the United States that can be typed on one row of keys that contains QWERTY? Or the QWERTY keyboard, that style. It has to be typed on one of the rows. Only one row.
Huh.
Everyone starts looking at their keyboard.
I know.
Well, Nevada.
I figured it out.
Nevada.
Nope. N is in and E are both on different rows.
I'm thinking of the acronym NV.
It
Oh,
is
the whole-
literally on the home key row.
You're gonna make me go through the entire damn list in my head while staring at my keyboard. This is gonna haunt me. Cricket. Seriously, I swear to God, if I had to buy you a freaking sound pack to give you the perfect like response for these dead silence, just like click a button, crickets start playing.
Does anyone want a hint?
Yeah.
Sure, give us a region.
It is a state that actually is not connected to the United States.
Oh, Alaska.
Here we go. That was
Oh, yeah,
pretty-
you're right.
pretty easy. Yeah.
Yeah, no, wow. Okay, that's really out there. That's some.
Pretty obscure.
Yeah. Hey,
You're pretty obscure.
random nerdy questions.
You're obscure.
Your face is obscure.
Is it?
Hey. Enough of the obscurity talk. We don't need to hear about you guys' obscure faces.
Hey, there's some obscure stuff that happened earlier that I won't mention. Other than
Funny, I
that.
was just thinking about that. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that.
It's like we're not going to open that can of worms.
Hey, every
No,
one of us
thank
changes clothes every day, but flashing your things on webcam is a once in a lifetime event.
Also,
Yeah.
Tom, there's the reason why I told you to sit back down. Just letting you know.
Sorry about that. Okay, another trivia question. What's this called?
What's what called?
When
What he
you
just
when you just kind of do this, you tug your shirt down.
Oh, the Picard maneuver. The only reason I remember that is you were talking about Jim, and I were playing a game. You were talking about that.
Yeah,
I was like, what the hell's the Picard maneuver? I was just like, oh, every time he gets up, because the suits were so tight, he had to tug his shirt down so it didn't show any of his skin. It's just like, oh, yeah, he did that all the damn time.
And nobody likes. Well, they wanted the suits to be nice and smooth for the close-ups, for the
Yeah,
headshots.
and Patrick Stewart was not the only one that did it.
No, they
most of
also
the actors
did.
Oh,
did it
yeah.
at some point. But yeah, that got to be even in the books. They reference that a lot, as they call it the Picard maneuver.
So inappropriate.
So
Yeah,
let me
fair
make a bunch of our viewers feel even older than they probably feel already. What year was the first Harry Potter movie released?
Oh,
Oh,
gosh.
I believe
Oh,
that
I
was
was in
2001.
high school.
What?
I believe it was 2001.
Yep,
Yeah, that sounds right. I was going to say 2000, 2001.
2001.
I was, God, now you made me feel old.
So technically, we're getting really close to retro with Harry Potter films.
I don't think you can. I don't think you can call anything done this century as retro.
Yeah,
Jim and I were
Because
just
they're
talking about
calling-
that last night.
they're calling a lot of the game consoles that have been coming out this last
Like the
century
Xbox,
retro
like the Xbox 360,
consoles.
yeah.
So technically, you can.
Well, I mean,
I mean-
we were talking about this. Jim and I were
Funny.
talking about this as I told him about a record that, because we were trying to nail down the range of these records, and some of them were made in 1965, and some were as late as 1982. And I'm like, some of these are oldies, and Jim's like, Tom, these people are listening to it in like 1980. I don't know if you can call it oldies. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, in the 80s, 60s were considered oldies, but today, do we consider Lady Gaga's first album oldies?
No, but the Red Hot Chili Peppers are officially elevator music, which means they're
Yeah,
oldies.
kind of weird when you think about it.
I mean, it may be
So-
a generational divide thing.
So I think they're just north of retro because a lot of the internet agrees with the fact that like the 80s or the 90s are considered retro now. But on gaming consoles, because of how often a gaming console comes out, and there's a
Yeah.
new one, and they stop production,
And also,
there's a
can you-
big difference. Because
Yeah.
like a 2011 gaming console might be retro compared to what we have now.
Yeah, because it's about to be 2 generations out of date.
Yeah.
Well, I think something becomes retro when the machines being manufactured right now can no longer play its software. And
That could-
think
could seem to
about it,
win.
because that means, well, I mean, you cannot play an Xbox One game out of the box on any modern game console. You certainly can't play a PS1 or PS2 game on any modern gaming console out of the box.
Yeah.
But
Yes
you can
and
play.
No, my Xbox One X, I can go grab one of my original Xbox, so 2002 era games, plug it into my Xbox One X, and it will download the compatibility pack and start playing.
But there's the key. It downloads the compatibility. It runs it through emulation. It's not running it natively.
Let's keep this in mind about movies then. Harry Potter, the very first movie, when it was released, first had a VHS release,
You
then
buy it
a
on-
DVD. So most people
Oh
don't
my
have
gosh.
anything that plays VHS player. Come on. So Harry Potter, therefore, by your definition, is retro.
That's a movie that you could have bought on VHS and no longer buy. To be the first movie in the series you could buy on VHS, but by the time they finished the series out, you could not buy the last movie on VHS. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, look at, if you want to really go retro, the last
Tom
movie
just
released for
felt old.
Laserdisc.
I just watched Tom feel old.
Now, this one might hit him. The last movie released for Laserdisc was Episode 1. So let's see, that would have been released in what, 2000?
Yeah, episode 1 came out in '99.
You're talking about Star Wars Episode 1, I assume.
Yeah.
What other episode 1 would there be?
No, we were just
There's
talking
a lot
about
of
Harry
episodes.
Potter and the Sorcerer's
Yeah.
Stone. So
Well, we would refer to it as Harry Potter, the first movie. I mean, episode 1 is episode 1.
Yeah, it's Episode 1 in Nerd World is kind of reserved for Star Wars. When you just refer to it by that. But yeah, no, if that was the last movie released on Laserdisc, that's seriously old, because Laserdisc was released in what? 82?
Nope.
Or is it's 82 or 79? I always forget.
Disco Vision. I believe that was actually 78.
Well, yeah, but actual availability where it actually started picking up, because the first versions of Laserdisc were what? Like equivalent of about $15,000 nowadays?
So since we're on this slew of topics, we're gonna bring up an old number of, it's gone from literature to ballets to theater to movies. The 1900 novel The Wizard of Oz. One thing that they changed that made a it was a very graphic decision for movie directors to actually make this change from the novel to on screen, and it is a staple. Originally, what color were Dorothy's shoes in the original novel?
they were
Green.
silver,
It was
They were
silver.
silver.
Oh, that's
That
right.
is correct.
and they changed it to red because they wanted to show off color film, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, they wanted it to really pop.
That
Also-
is the only
Yep.
reason. Her iconic red shoes were originally supposed to be silver.
Well,
Most
and
people
it's the same
why they-
reason.
either.
Go ahead, Jim.
I said most people don't know why they were silver. As the author was making a comment on taking America off the gold standard and putting it on the silver standard, because we had a lot of silver in the country then, and we were in the midst of another recession, depression that we had about every 20 years while we were on the gold standard. And a lot of people thought we should have went to the silver standard because that metal was more available.
Okay, final. This is a question for you,
Uh-oh.
and just because of its topic. Who was the first man to appear solo on the cover of Playboy?
Han, of course.
Yeah.
On the
No.
cover of Playboy.
On the cover of Playboy? No, that would have been. Oh crap. Brain work with Burt Reynolds.
No,
No,
Now you're thinking of the first centerfold.
there's only been one.
because the only other one I can think of would be Hugh Hefner himself.
That's it. That is the only man to appear solo on the cover of Playboy, and it was the released edition after his passing.
Ah, okay.
You know, funny enough, one of the few things that I actually found interesting about the history of that organization is they had the best stereo reviews. Because they actually bought the equipment and gave reviews of what they thought. They were not given there was no kicking around, backdoor negotiation, nothing. They went out because they had the money, bought the equipment, and then did an honest review. And
I like
Okay.
that. I mean, yeah, I like that. I like that a lot better than the way the current review system works, where places
So is
people are
anyone
given
else
review
getting
money or given things.
hypnotized by Tom's turntable?
Yeah,
No, but I have Devo playing in my head now.
this is. I love this thing. I just love looking at this thing. This is first of all, it's called a slip mat. You can actually put your records on top of it, and that way the turn to the metal platter doesn't scratch them up. But this is also this particular thing is called a protractor, and what you can do with it is use it for aligning your cartridge. So when you, I'm not gonna set the cartridge on the protractor right now, but as you you notice that this cartridge has 2 screws in the top. You actually have to move the cartridge back and forth and twist it to get it perfectly lined up. And you actually you set it down on that little target right there and make sure that it's aligned with the target. And then you bring the cartridge around and do the same thing at the other target. And if the front of the cartridge is still straight on that center line, then your cartridge is twisted the right way. And the reason for that is if you look at, obviously if you look at the tone arm as it tracks across the table, it's turning. But if you can't have the needle hitting the record at a different angle as it goes in, because it won't track properly and it'll distort the sound. So the reason the reason the tone arm is curved like it is, this S shape, or the reason we have on this other cheap junker, the reason we
Other
have
way.
other
Wrong
way. Yeah, this remote control is backwards. I don't know why Logitech.
You're
did-
backwards. Too
You're
far.
thinking camera right versus stage right.
No, it's because they expect you to look at this mirrored, and I'm not mirrored on this screen. And this, you see, even this guy is angled so that it hits it's hitting the record at an angle. So the idea is, as this thing tracks across the see, I did it right that time. Huh? As it tracks across the record, you want it to always be the same angle relative to the groove. And so, if you're really going to set up a table right, you're going to get yourself a protractor, $10. You're going to get yourself a scale that tells you how heavy your needle is on the record. You want it to be, somewhere between 2 and 4 grams, depending on your cartridge, and every cartridge is different. But this one's tracking at 2.06 right now, so that's a good number. And I'm sorry you can't see it on the screen. And get yourself a cleaning kit, get yourself a scale, get yourself a protractor, and you're good to go. This thing is a piece of snake oil. It's called a stabilizer. It doesn't really do what they say it does. What they say it does is it makes your record more stable, because the extra mass of the stabilizer keeps your speed more consistent. Well, like I explained before, this is a metal platter and a quartz locked motor. It doesn't change speed. What this does do is it keeps the records flat, because a lot of my records are a little bit warped, especially the vintage stuff I've been buying, and the stuff I just bought from the record store. My Gustav Holst, The Planets on Deutsche Grammophon, is just the slightest bit warped, because that record is probably 30 years old. But when I put this down on top of it, it kind of settles, and it kind of flattens out the warping a little bit. And plus, I just like the look of it. I mean, doesn't the thing look cool sitting there when that record's spinning?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great way to distract the ADD in me.
Yeah. So another fun little trick. You can actually stop the motor on these and freely spin them. I actually, the other night, I was doing this to see if I could pull it off. I can get the record spinning using the strobe, and actually listen to it even without power. Just sitting here playing through some classical music, and then I turned it around and did it backwards masking. There it is.
So, since we're still on the topic of music, I have another random question for you.
Oh boy.
What was the first Bond film to win an Oscar for the best original song?
Ooh.
Oh,
I think it was Goldfinger.
No.
no. It was.
If it wasn't Goldfinger, it was Live and Let Die by Wings. No? Really? Okay, well, I'll shut up then.
It was Skyfall with Adele.
Why does that not surprise me at all?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, come on, you had, what was it? One of the original songs was written by the frickin' Beatles, and that didn't qualify. I was like, it's the Beatles. Come on. You know, my nieces are like 5 and 3, and the 5-year-old knows who the Beatles are. It's been what, better part of over half a century since they broke up.
Something like that.
Yeah, and they're still one of the top-selling bands of all time.
The Beatles, I want to say the Beatles is one of the most valuable licensing. I think the Beatles is the most valuable licensing in music. I could be wrong on that. So don't
there's
quote
a
me on
few
that.
of you that are a big fan of the next topic of question that I'm going to bring up, and it has to do with the Doom series.
Ooh. I
Mm.
love
The
me
first-person
Doom series.
shooter video game.
Oh, Doom. I
was
thought you said
first
Dune.
released in what year?
1986.
1983.
1983?
1993.
1993.
Oh, 1993. I'm sorry. Was it?
Yeah, I was in
wait.
college when it came out. It pretty much needed.
I was thinking
it pretty much
Wolfenstein.
it pretty much needed a 386 to run properly.
Yeah, if you
By the way,
ran
to-
if you ran
to-
the display render all the way down.
To remind everyone, ages here. Tom is the one who just said he was in college when that was released.
Yeah, so was
But
I.
Bunny be like, I was not here yet.
No, I was here. Jeez. I was in diapers, but I was here. I actually was not in the United States, though.
Deutschland.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Germany, for those of you who are curious on what he just said. Anyway.
Here's a oddball point. What perspective of rendering was used for Doom?
People called it 2.5D.
Correct.
It was a technique known as raycasting, and they only expanded the horizontal perspective over distance. The vertical perspective was was expanded, but if you moved the camera up and down, if you panned the camera up and down, the perspective didn't change. So vertical columns would still be vertical even if you were looking down at them, which should cause the perspective to skew like this. And the original Duke Nukem used the same kind of rendering, and so everything looked really weird when you looked up and down.
Yeah, and it's one of the ways they were able to portray the view of playing in 3D, but using a 2D rendering method. It's how
Yes.
they're
So,
able
Tom,
to do so much with
what
so
in the
little.
world do you now have up on your other screen?
Okay, so that is next time's topic.
Next time topic.
I'm just going to say that I discovered a whole new world of automation
A whole
that
new
existed in the
world.
70s for automating radio station playback. Things you didn't know were going on behind the scenes were all being done not by computer, but by analog electronics in as early as something like 1972.
So, time before that, here's your next
Yeah.
question. In what year did Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin land on the moon?
1969.
Yeah. 69.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was going to say 69.
And
also-
Tom just stood there. He just sitting there like,
I
It's
knew-
like
I-
it's
I knew,
also
I
the
was-
birth date of what famous technology that we all currently use.
Oh yeah. 8086.
The eyebrows. I'm sorry.
Well, no, the internet's officially became a thing in 1969.
TARPANET, yeah.
Yeah. No, I was watching Tom's eyebrows. That's
Oh.
literally what I was watching.
And
I'm sorry.
speaking of the lunar landing, who was up in orbit at the time?
Russia.
No.
No.
Oh,
Who was in orbit of the moon at the time
Oh.
of the lunar landing?
Was it Wally Schirra?
No.
No.
Michael Collins.
Yeah. One of the astronauts when they landed on the moon, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed on the moon. Michael Collins had to stay behind. Imagine being the third guy. Like you draw the short straw, and you're like, wait a minute. I have to spend a week in a can with these two stinky guys, but I don't actually get to go down. I don't get to walk on the moon.
I gotta stay up here and watch them do that?
I want to know who he pissed off to get that.
Yeah.
Well, every single mission had somebody that stayed up.
Well, yeah, because it makes sense. Because
Yeah.
considering later issues with the
had to
Apollo
try to
missions, it made sense.
Let's not get too off topic.
So I'm just gonna wrap this up with like I said, next time we'll talk a little bit about that automation stuff for radio stations. I think it's amazing. Don't buy these cheap ass record turntables or record players. If you're gonna buy a turntable, at least buy something that's decent. Buy yourself an Audio Technica LP60. Go get the 120 like I have. Don't buy those integrated Crossley
If it says
so-called
Crosley on it,
vintage style record players. Don't do it. Save your records. That record, right? Like I said, that player right there is going to be emasculated and no longer ever able to play a record again after tonight. And
Yeah. I gotta find my old techniques. Like I know they're somewhere, but I have yet to stumble across them, and that's really worrying me.
speaking of, since we're doing trivia, okay, you guys see that the computer in the front of this picture here is it's a recreation of an Altair 8800, and you see my TEC 3300 A3300 S tape recorder back there. What do those two things have in common?
They're both powered by tape for storage.
The Altair 8800 was released in 1975, which is the same year that they were making the TEC 3300S.
Out there.
Yeah, that tape deck is 45 years old and still working. That's if you were to does any piece of portable electronics, any piece of personal electronics you buy today, will it still be working in 45 years? That thing
A decade ago, I would have said an Apple computer, but not anymore.
Yeah. Also, I'd love that GIF. That's Star Trek, by the way. That's the Star Trek. Just to stay with the theme, that is the Star Trek Mike Mayfield Star Trek game, which was first created on an HP computer back in the late 70s, and it has been on pretty much every computing platform ever made since then. This is running on a CPM, which is running on the emulated Altair 8800, which is the little box you see with all the lights in front of the tape deck there. And that's obviously not the live scene. I made that shift a couple of days ago. And okay, I'm done. So it's somebody else's turn.
Okay, so this is a very short segment. And it is basically covering one of the more rare occurrences that is happening in our lifetime. When I say our, I mean they can both happen, but they don't happen very often. So depending on how long you live, this might happen more than once. So we have 2 full moons this October. One has already passed. That was October 1st. It was called the Harvest Moon. And that's from the Farmer's Almanac. The second one will be on October 31st. And no, not every Halloween is a full moon. The full moon of on the Halloween only happens every 18 to 19 years, on average 19 years apart. So it is called a blue moon. and it's not because it's going to be blue. It is because 2 moons in a 29-day cycle, which is the cycle of our moon, if you didn't know, it occurs so rarely that it had been nicknamed a blue moon. So that was my very small segment outside of my random questions throughout the podcast.
Well, if you think about it, if you think about the math of it, if the lunar cycle is 28 days, and our month is an average of 30 days long, then the cycle is slipping by 2 days every month. So it's going to take 15 months to get to that point where you have 2 moons in 2 full moons or 2 new moons in the same month. It's about every maybe once a year at best.
If that.
And so not only is this Halloween a blue moon, not only is it a full moon, which is great. Sadly, nobody gets to go trick-or-treating. But this is also the time change. So don't forget, you guys, on Halloween to set your clocks.
Yeah, so
Actually, it happens it'll happen early that morning.
Really explain something real quick because of what Tom just said about 28 days. The moon takes 27.3 days to actually orbit the Earth, and the lunar phase from new moon to new moon is 29.5 days. So his math is off just a hair, but please forgive him.
Well, that's only because the moon is orbiting the Earth in the same direction that we're turning. So the number of actual times that we pass the moon is slightly less than the orbital period. Or is it slightly more? Sorry, slightly more.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. So yeah, 29 days
Fractions.
would make 30 months for it to get there.
Yeah. So it will not happen as often as Tom thinks because yeah
29.53 days. Wow.
Fun. All right, moving on.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're gonna be dealing with fractions and my head's gonna start hurting.
I'm gonna start doing math. Nobody likes it when I do math mostly because I'm usually wrong.
Next slide, Tom.
Nobody likes it when you do
Nobody likes it when you're wrong. You know what they like? You know what they like about me being wrong? They like it only slightly less than when I'm right.
Usually
Slightly
because
more
we get
than
to
when
give
I'm right.
you crap
Yeah.
for it.
Exactly.
Ooh, the part
Bad
that I forgot to
MSI.
add.
Bad.
Yeah. This dropped on Reddit.
Wait, hold on a second. Was it MSI selling it?
No, this is where it gets complicated, and this is where it also gets really bad. So what happened is late Wednesday night, someone posted that they were seeing these MSI video cards being posted on eBay for scalper level prices. So if you look at that, that's roughly twice MSRP is about what you're seeing, which is insanely high, even for scalping. But welcome to the lockdown. Video cards are rare, and people are being dicks about it. So what happened is late one night, this guy on Reddit was looking at one of these, and he thought he recognized the name, and he started digging in the name, and the name was Starlight Partners. And as he dug into it, all they ever sold was MSI products. That's all they sold, which for someone functioning on eBay, you typically don't stick to one brand unless you are the eBay auctioner selling seconds and refurbs through a company-sanctioned eBay account. So the more this guy dug into it, and he finally realized that I'm going to put some perfect quotation marks around this going, I am not a lawyer. I do not have a functioning understanding of trademark law. He noticed that Starlight Partners was using the MSI trademarks. So the MSI logo, all these little things that typically if you use from a company, you are either working for the company, license them, or about to get your ass sued.
Mm-hmm.
Because about the only thing I understand about trademark law is defend it or lose it.
Oh, that is true. Yeah, trademarks, unlike copyright, you have to defend trademarks, or you stand the chance of losing it.
Yeah, which, considering the amount of we've done about Star Trek, is one of the reasons why people are very careful with how they make fan productions around Star Trek, because trademarks. It isn't just copyrighted. Certain parts of Star Trek, like the logo, are trademarked.
And you are not wrong. This is basically all they sell is MSI products.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So-
real quick, random question. Will go along the lines of things that are trademarked. The Barbie doll was launched in 1959 by which American toy company?
Everybody knows it's Mattel, but it had a different name when it originally came out.
No, that is correct. Mattel Incorporated.
Funny enough, one of the largest Mattel warehouses is actually nearby. Well, used to be, was actually built by Judd and me. Like a long time ago. I remember driving past it with my dad, and I looked at it and went, "That says Mattel." He's like, "Yeah, it's the toy company's warehouse for the West Coast." I was like, "So I can go in there and get my Star Trek and Star Wars toys?" And my dad looked, he's like, "Yeah, you probably shouldn't."
Well, you wouldn't be able to get Star Trek or Star Wars toys from
Anyways,
Mattel
continue.
anyways.
Because that's how my brain works. It's like, oh, major toy company, insert brand here. I had no connection with reality. But anyway,
You were a child. Continue.
yes, very precocious was the nice way of putting it. Anyway, so what happens is this guy digs in more and more and more, and he finds something bizarre. When he goes to click on their website, it sends them to an MSI website. So either this is a scalper that is full on like skirting well past the legal safety nets and just blatantly stealing MSI's property, or it's a subsidiary of MSI functioning under legal license.
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes an issue because MSI is a first party vendor for these video cards.
Say, what?
So if they're selling these for scalper prices, that's not only incredibly bad for the brand, that might actually be illegal. Because there's a manufacturer suggested retail price, and a company affiliated with them or a subsidiary thereof is selling them for way above that for extreme amounts of profit. That's the definition of gouging.
So
remember-
having worked at a retail store, it's not actually illegal to sell something at any price, but the manufacturer doesn't have to let you buy it from the wholesaler. They are allowed to not sell you something. They're allowed to not sell a store a product, which means that basically you're not allowed to sell it if the manufacturer doesn't want you to sell it.
True, but at the same time, you also run into gouging laws.
Yeah, but they don't apply to this because this is gouging laws only apply to things like like fuel and food and things that are necessary in a state of emergency.
That's true.
All right, fair enough. Regardless
So while we're
of
on
legality, it's
product,
shady as hell.
while we're on product, I'm going to interrupt again.
Okay.
A stroopwafel is a waffle cookie that has caramel in the middle of it, if you didn't know. Originated in what European country?
Belgium?
Scandinavia.
Stroop waffle?
Stroopwafel.
The only thing I can think of is it's part of like the Germanic root language area. So like Belgium,
I'm gonna say
Germany.
like the what's the country with the like the crazy where's the Matterhorn?
Swedish Stroopwafel?
Yeah, I
No.
want to say it's Sweden.
Scandinavia?
The Netherlands.
The Netherlands. That was the other one I was going to say.
So yeah, somewhere in that
It's one of, it's
proto
like
block.
it's one of my things to have allergic reactions to, which is why I don't get them. But
Mm.
man, they're
That's
good.
unfortunate.
They are a great coffee or tea. And what you do is you literally have your coffee cup and you put the cookie on top. And it sits there and it collects all that heat and then you eat the cookie. And it's it is so good.
Yeah, that
Sorry.
sounds amazing,
Sorry.
especially during winter.
I might make coffee just to do that, even though I don't like coffee.
Well, you can make it with a good strong tea then.
Speaking of coffee, where are my donuts?
All right. So anyway, the reason why this really bothered me is I've worked retail as well, and these kind of games piss me off because it's a limited availability, and the company is turning around and selling them for higher profit instead of following traditional sales channels. That's the kind of stuff that just like, wait, what? So it explodes on Reddit. All the major YouTube channels and other independent review organizations that I like to follow that have journalistic standards that they follow dug into this to the point where Gamers Nexus actually called the Taiwan headquarters and asked them about this.
Okay.
And literally no one there knew what was going on. And apparently Starlight is a subsidiary that functions in the US. In fact, if you buy an MSA product and you do a rebate, it goes through Starlight. So it's a subsidiary of some sort. And the part that is truly just like, wait, what? Is that this is normally, they're selling seconds. So in other words, video cards that didn't quite meet the standards for a certain level, they're kind of checked down a little and then sold as, for a cheap price. They're trying to recover the cost of manufacturing ostensibly. Or refurbs, same thing.
So they're not only selling them at crazy prices, but they're selling seconds at inflated prices when they should be selling the thing at like $800.
Yeah, and the thing that started all this is the guy looked at the reviews to see whether this was a good seller. So not just the number, he was looking at the quality of the reviews, and a ton of people wrote really bad reviews saying video card doesn't actually meet specifications, running below specification, doesn't run, has render issues, like tons and tons of all sorts of issues. And it's like, okay, that's a huge red flag. But you notice here in the headline, it says nothing about refurb. And I read through one of these pages. It didn't say refurb or second anywhere. It says brand new. So it's just like, wait, what? So if this is a second, or even if it is not, and it's a fully functional line, why does a company that deals primarily with seconds and refurbs selling main product line? More importantly, how the hell do they even get their hands on it when all the major vendors can't? And for most people that aren't aware, unless you deal directly with the manufacturers in the IT world, you're typically dealing with one of two companies. You're either dealing with Ingram Data or Ingram Micro or Tech Data. Those are the big warehouse companies that buy all these products. Best Buy goes through them. CompUSA went through them.
We used to use.
Well, B&H is branched out. It used to be they only did with like the photo and video stuff.
D&H, Delta.
Oh,
Hotel.
Yeah. I've never actually dealt with them.
I'm going to.
So if you move to the next slide, this all exploded, and this is their official apology, and this screams.
Tom, can you move to the next slide?
Hang on.
We lost Tom's image.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Stand by for technical difficulties.
I'm going to go ahead and interrupt real quick because this is going to really bug people. And I love doing it. I'm enjoying being the interrupter this time. Okay, so the co-founder of Atari, Nolan Bushnell, also founded what pizza chain?
Chuck E. Cheese.
Yes, you said that with such a lackluster voice. No, he was right.
Brad, just say Round Table.
No, I knew it was Chuck E. Cheese because one of the reasons why, one of the things he pushed for was all the animatronics because it would make them different.
That's true, yeah.
And to this day, Chuck E. Cheese, now that he's a mouse instead of a rat, is still one of the most haunting things I've ever seen.
It's definitely nightmare fuel.
To the point where it was instructed that the employees that clean late at night had to wear a special Chuck E. Cheese helmet because otherwise the animatronics would detect a person was there.
Five Nights at Freddy's, anyone?
Yeah. Those animatronics still definitely haunt me. I loved them as a kid, but as I got older and I went there with like my nieces, like a long time ago, I just remember staring at those things going, those things keep looking at me, and as soon as I turn my head, they look away. That's really disturbing.
Who remembers the
another
one?
Oh yeah. So another fun and weird phrasing question. Tom Yum is a type of hot and sour soup that originated in what country?
Yum yum.
Well, you'd think because it's served in Chinatown that it would have come from China.
But I think he
But
came
if I'm,
from
I'm sorry, no, Tom Yum,
What?
that's Thailand.
Yes.
Sorry, I was thinking of.
Okay,
That
now back
breakfast
onto your
soup.
topic, Mr. ADD.
Yeah, and you keep sidetracking my
I
brain's
know.
like, oh, I'm gonna get you back to
I
this
can't
somehow.
do it. I can't keep it.
Like,
My brain.
She's under too much stress, Captain. We can't push her anymore. My really bad Scottish impersonation.
Give it all she's
of
got,
Scotland.
sir.
So reading through all this, and I am not an investigative reporter. I'm going off of what has been said, and this is the information I've gotten is coming from many different sources, and it's all coming across very much the same. And why is that in space?
Oh, this is. I was looking for YouTube videos. This
That's cool.
that looked like the bridge of a starship.
So Tom, you're
So
supposed to
this
have it twice.
is. This is called the Ambient Warped Starfield, and Bernard's Loop. So if you're looking for, this is straight off of YouTube. If you're looking for a starship bridge,
And I don't own this
monitor.
video or have any rights to it. The
Yeah.
original poster to YouTube does.
so but that's just
posting it
there in
for
the
some
background.
Lovely commentary.
It's just there in the background, so to add to my my theme that we're sitting inside of a starship traveling through
I
space.
swear to God, if we're doing this
Now-
podcast,
now
a decade
prove that
from
I'm
now,
not.
You're going to be on a full-blown deck. You will have built an entire Enterprise deck. And we'll be
Tom, would
sitting
you
in
mind
the
bringing
captain's
back up the slides?
Oh yeah, sorry
Because
about
you
that.
took them down to do that.
What you don't like having me twice?
chair.
There we go.
Anyway, so this apology is they're saying that it was an accident. This shouldn't have happened. The order system should not have allowed them to. It was some sort of a glitch. I'm sorry, but if you're a worldwide manufacturing company and you have a product that is so in demand you cannot meet demand in any way, shape, or form, I'm pretty sure you're running some sort of tracking system where you know where everything is at all times, especially when you're a company that manufactures electronics. You're going to know where stuff is.
And Starlight
And-
has been a thing since, I believe it was 2016. 2015,
Yeah, because people were commenting that they bought 2080s through them.
Mhm.
So this isn't a first time.
And
this is-
1060s.
So this is just like, this is screaming British Petroleum apology. We're sorry, but we're kind of not sorry because
We're sorry that we got caught.
Yeah, and the thing is MSI, something's going on with them, and I used to really like their products because when I worked retail, they made really good boards that had a good feature set, and they weren't super expensive. They were a nice middle ground. So you had Gigabyte, Asus, MSI, and for a while you had other manufacturers that have since been bought out and merged in, to where you basically there's only 3 motherboard manufacturers anymore. Unless you want to get into enterprise level stuff, and that's just a whole other ball of wax.
So since 2 of our podcasters are snacking,
Oh God.
I had
when
a
a
slice of
drink
apple pie.
is served on the rocks, it's served with
Ice.
Pebbles.
I actually have real stones. I have whiskey stones.
as
So
do
literally, I drink my whiskey on the rocks. Literally. And they're
Founded in
great.
1921, this company is credited with being the first fast food chain. I will never eat this company's food. I've tried
Wait,
it.
what year?
In 1921.
Okay, so that's not McDonald's.
What'd you say? Yes, sir. Yep, White Castle.
Huh.
And I cannot. McDonald's and White Castle can't handle their food.
I've never even seen a White Castle. I
I went
think
by
I've-
one in
There's-
I don't think
Vegas.
they
Strictly
made it
with
West
back
the-
down
Coast.
here.
No, there's
strictly
one in
East Coast.
Vegas.
No, they're strictly East Coast. I mean, they have like 1 or 2 out here, but it's strictly an East Coast thing.
We just started getting them here.
Yeah,
In the
specifically
South.
they were more
never
the
eaten one.
northeast.
It's like
Yeah, no.
In-N-Out is primarily West
The-
Coast.
Next question. The Cajun holy trinity of cooking consists of what 3 vegetables?
Bell pepper, onions, and celery.
Heck yeah! Jim.
So I knew it was
Heck
onion
yeah.
and celery. I couldn't remember what the
Alright.
third one was.
Trinity.
What's the French mirepoix?
Onions, carrots, and celery.
And I'm the cooking nut, and I'm getting schooled here. That's not a bad thing because you can never know enough about cooking. 'Cause the more I learn to cook, the more I enjoy it, and the more interesting recipes I find, the more interesting styles I find. Which is great because I found that with the base ingredients I have, I can cook a lot of different styles. Which keeps me from getting bored. Anyway, so this situation with MSI has compounded a lot of issues. They've been found to, not just found, they full on got called out for trying to get bad reviews pulled, threatening to sue, threatening to bribe, or not even threatening, like straight up like, we'll pay you to not post this video. It's like, no.
Go.
They've been getting more and more shady over the last few years, and it's got a lot of people worried. Because if one of the major manufacturers of motherboards on the planet starts going down, we're going to be stuck with, ostensibly an Intel versus AMD situation where you basically have to pick a side, and whether it's a good product or not, you're SOL.
There's even something that's interesting. From my understanding, over the summer, the MSI's CEO committed suicide.
Wait, seriously?
Seriously. That's just weird. What the hell is going on in the company?
Oh dear Lord, that's not good.
Well, crap, it's
I mean, there's according to this, it's still being investigated. They're not ruling it out as a murder yet. That's, oh boy,
Yeah.
that's not a good sign. That's actually incredibly bad because, and both Judd and I remember working when we both worked in the same PC retail chain, very small, and I don't want to say the name because it's very easy to identify where we live. But one of the things that was the death knell for that company was the CEO dying.
Yeah. Because the children really didn't want to have anything to do with the company. It was Dad's thing. That's what Dad wanted to do. They had no desire for it. And they really didn't.
So, question for our snacker. Let's see if we can get this one. He is also a person that likes to drink soda, so he should be able to get this one. What popular soda beverage was originally developed as a mixer for whiskeys?
Mountain Dew.
You are not the snacker. But
And
you're correct.
it wasn't actually a mixer.
It was.
Take
It was
that.
originally designed as a palate cleanser between tastings.
No.
Somebody must have plugged Tom in.
I really miss my refillable mug. I miss being able to
Keeps
go to
looking
the
back and forth.
7-Eleven, stick that thing under there, and put a half a gallon of Diet Coke in my mug.
Well,
At this point, why don't you just buy a soda stream?
I tell you what, I'm seriously thinking about putting a soda fountain in my little kitchenette over here.
Hey, I'll
Right.
tell you where you can get an adapter where you can plug in regular CO2, like a straight up
The
20-pound tank.
The problem is the company, the distributors will not sell to individuals, so you cannot buy the syrup directly.
That's funny because they sell it at my local Sam's Club.
yeah,
No, that's,
Interesting.
you
yeah.
can get it. It's
So final, real
Interesting.
quick. You can Google it. It is like the first 100 results when you Google what was Mountain Dew originally made for, and it's whiskey.
Yeah, no, it was, but when
That's
Mountain
the-
Dew did the Dew Shine, they did a huge history label on the side saying what it was invented for.
Yeah, but the original use was for whiskey mixer.
it was designed to be a mixer. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can't have two originals. Just saying.
Well, it gets into it. Okay.
Well, you can and you can't because the flavor used to be quite a bit different too. It used to have a
Yeah.
lot more lemon in it.
Well,
Hey, Coke used to have cocaine in it, so hey.
Well, yeah,
Or-
cocaine, cola.
No, Coca-Cola still has cocaine in it.
Yeah, it does actually. They have it's known as the Coca-Cola exemption. The DEA imports something like 6 metric tons of raw coca leaves into the U.S. and they go to a bonded facility to be processed to get the ingredient that Coca-Cola needs out of it. The rest goes to processing for medical use, where they make things like
I don't believe
Tom is about to have a heart
It's
attack.
true.
you are going to
It
have
is
to find
100% true. You could look it up on Snopes if you want to.
Hold
I
on,
will
Tom's gonna
do
die. You guys,
exactly that.
give him some time, because he's been drinking this all night.
Well, because
Diet Coke is a different recipe.
Strangely
him-
enough, Diet
hold on.
Coke is
Hold
what
on, you guys stop, because
New
Tom's
Coke
gonna
was made
explode.
from.
Like, oh gosh.
Yeah, New Coke is Diet Coke with
Breathe.
sugar.
Breathe. There we go. Don't choke. Okay. Continue. Are you done, Mr. Final?
Long story short, for this little section of mine, this kind of shenanigans has been on the rise in the tech center. It's gotten to the point where, Micron, Intel, and Samsung walk into a courtroom.
Intel, Micron, and Samsung walk into a bar. Then the bartender says, "No, the courtroom's next door."
Yeah. That's now happening, what, every 5 years now? That they get yelled at for price fixing?
Mm.
It's getting bad. Where the tech sector is, because they've learned that they can throw their weight around, and by weight I mean gigantic cash reserves, where they're getting away with a lot of stuff that just really bothers me. There's not as much competition as there was 30 years ago.
What do you expect? I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this excuses anything, but what do you expect when the business is a race to the bottom and these companies still have to make money? And I mean, I hate seeing it, but it doesn't surprise me because for a while there, it seemed like PC companies were dropping like flies. I mean, Compaq is basically gone. It's a subsidiary of HP now.
It's not even a subsidiary anymore. It's fully gone.
And are they not making Compaq branded hardware anymore?
Nope.
ProLiant
line, all the old lines that Compaq was famous for just now say HP or HPE. Nothing has been under the Compaq name for over a decade now.
I mean, IBM sold out their PC business years ago to Lenovo, who has just ruined the brand. Never, ever buy a Lenovo. I'm saying this right now. Never buy Lenovo. That is one company that has zero ethics, that does not care at all about your privacy and your security as a user. If you don't believe me, just put 2 words into Google: Lenovo Superfish. That tells you all you need to know.
Ooh,
It happened 3 times in a row.
Yep, they get caught with their hand in the cookie jars. Many
3
times. over.
times, they apologize, they turn around and do it again.
Yeah. Well, it's
Shall we move on to the next topic of the night?
Yes, let's move on to the
yes,
next topic.
please. Something that's good.
Possibly.
Cricket.
Maybe. Sure. Why not? All right.
So,
AMD announced, what was that, yesterday? The Zen 3 architecture. They rightly, smartly, as opposed to Intel naming schemes, since they had already started coming out with their Zen 2 based graphics
APUs.
integrated graphics on the processor under the Ryzen 4000 series. They decided, hey, we're going to skip that with Zen 3 and go 5000 series. And they've released 4 processors. In the next slide, I've got the information about the 4 processors. But this slide shows the primary architectural differences between old and new Zen 2 and Zen 3.
Oh, Tom just closed it.
I do like the fact that this
No need
one-
to interrupt. Go ahead. Keep
The
going.
stream has ended. Cricket noise.
I do think the Discord has a sense of humor with their errors. That kind of lightens it up.
Anyways, so they've kept the same chiplet design, so that they have 4 cores, 6 cores, 8 cores in a chiplet. But instead of having 4 cores or 8 cores and then 8 cores in the chiplet separated and 16 megs of level 3 cache between each little section, it's now a monolithic level 3 cache, and all cores share the same cache. So it doesn't matter what core is working on it, it can access the same cache. And
so from a gaming perspective, cores don't need to keep caching different versions of the code. It's just one cache.
correct. And another thing that they managed to do is they're using the same interface chip. That hasn't changed from Zen 2 to Zen 3. So it's just the chiplets are just drop-in replacements for what they already have.
Which significantly reduces cost and complexity of deployment.
Yeah.
And here's for Intel's annoying interruptions. In Back to the Future, the original script was supposed to have what as the time machine?
Refrigerator.
Okay. You may
I gotta
continue.
say, I like the AMC more.
By the way, the refrigerator in the 4th Indiana Jones movie is a direct callback, intentionally by Spielberg, to the original refrigerator idea in Back to the Future. Spielberg actually said, "Hey, I got an idea. Let's put him in a refrigerator."
Yeah, lead lined.
Mm-hmm.
And anyways, so getting back to the Zen 3, another thing that they managed to do is they have an uplift in performance of approximately 20% over their previous chip. They're not comparing themselves to Intel, they're just comparing themselves to the previous chip. However, they did say one thing: the uplift has not required any extra power. Same power envelope, same wattage requirements. Which makes that, unlike Intel, whose latest chips keep going up in power requirements and heat generation, the Zen 3 is going to be the same as the Zen 2.
Let's see, what is it? Their current top line before you get an Enthusiast is what, 105 TDP?
Yep.
And the Enthusiast is quote unquote 150, but under actual real world testing, it was closer to like 200, 220
Something like that.
TDP. I was like, that makes
a lot of watts.
manage. Well, yeah, and if you really want to dig into TDP, Gamers Nexus did a huge point on that, a series of videos that really opened my eyes on the math behind that and how it's kind of moving the goalpost depending on how you use it.
Yeah, AMD and Intel both calculate their TDP really differently.
Is it one of those, like peak music power? It's a number that's basically a complete lie, but you can put it on a box.
Yeah, it's like comparing, theoretical maximum versus realistic RMS. It connection with reality is missing on one of these.
All right. Next slide, if you'd be so kind, sir.
All right. Next slide, Big Nabby.
Wait,
This is the part I didn't get into.
I thought I added the. Oh, are you using old? Because I updated the old that previous slide with the information for the different processors and their pricing.
It should automatically update it in the cloud.
It should have.
Should have.
Go check the slide real quick and see if you can update it.
And everybody, the cloud has failed. Also, random question for viewers, if you're still with us. What is the name of this feline that you are getting live streamed in your face this whole time?
Cricket.
And full name.
How do I edit? Or I've not used slides all that much. It should be good. I mean, How did the
Is the slide on the? Is the slide in slides not the slide that you're seeing when I go to the next one?
no the current slide we're at is not the one I'm seeing.
Judd broke it.
Derp, derp, derp.
Okay.
All right, give me a second here to stop streaming.
Oh, my cat left.
Slide, restart the presentation.
That question. Her full name is Little Miss Brit.
As we like to call her, Prissy.
Okay,
Yeah.
3. Oh yeah, you know what? I think you may have changed it while I was presenting it. It looks like it doesn't update the presentation live.
Oh, that kind of sucks.
Well, I mean, you can't expect it to. I mean, at some point you gotta be like, that just ain't gonna happen. Okay. I hate that when you open speaker notes, it loses full screen view, and I have to go back in and full screen again. Okay, so a little peek behind the curtain there. We're actually using
Your stream is ended, so
screen. I
It's
know,
not
and I did that on
okay.
purpose. There
Okay.
we go. They're using Google Slides to allow any of the group to edit our presentations before we stick it up there. I was even editing stuff at the end of the deck while Bunny and Judd were editing the middle of the deck here.
Yeah, no, collaborative. One of the things that I've found amazingly helpful in this lockdown time is collaborative online editing of documents. Oh, that saved my team and I's ass when we had to write a presentation that had to be no more than 70 slides
Yeah,
on a very complex cybersecurity topic.
Jim and I used that during our a couple of our classes. We used some Google Docs to coordinate our presentations.
Yes, we did.
Anyways,
I'm thoroughly impressed what Google can do for free.
so
The only company in the world that makes $1 billion a year or whatever it is by giving stuff away for free.
Oh yeah, because you are the product.
So we've
It
got,
works too, man. I will be over there browsing eBay looking for vintage tape recorders and be doing something completely different. And Google's like, you might want to buy this vintage tape recorder.
It's amazing
So-
how that works.
We've got 2 Ryzen 9s, the 5950X, the 5900X, 16 core, 32 thread, 12 core, 24 thread. What's interesting is that not a single one of these will turbo up to 5 gigahertz. They're just shy
Not
of
tonight,
that.
Pumpkin. Sorry, bud. Sorry, Judd.
But those are the speeds and the prices. If anybody's interested in those, I might personally be going for the 8-core, the 5800 or the 5900.
I'm starting at the 5950 because I do enough thread-bound work to where I need the thread count.
Now, what's interesting is that the 5900X 12-core 24 thread is $549. The 10980
10990 KGW. I don't know
yeah.
what the hell their naming scheme is now.
whatever the hell it is. Intel's top of line consumer desktop processor. So it's a Core i9 is I think $529 right now. So AMD has decided to kick theirs up a little bit higher, but honestly speaking, Intel's is an 8-core part and this is a 12-core part, and
Drawing less power, having higher performance numbers. Hey, look, AMD's finally going with the quality over quantity approach.
And in gaming, depending upon the game and depending upon the resolutions and whatnot, 5 to 10% improvement over, actually 5 to 30% improvement over Intel for instructions per clock.
So the one thing that Intel's been, shouting to the rooftops. I wish you guys. I need to get a webcam so you can see me waving my arms in the air like I have a banner, screaming, "We're still better at gaming."
And on the 7th, a day before, Intel had their own slide deck that they put out. Hey, we're really great at gaming.
Yeah, wasn't it like a blog post by the CEO and that was it?
Yeah,
That's their response. Oh,
a day early. Like, okay, sure. And now AMD has an even better thing. Okay, well, not really even better, but as good
This
as,
is-
and if maybe a little bit better in other things.
And this is on the what is it, the second generation of TSMC's 7 nanometer,
Yep. Zen 4 will
Intel's-
be 5 nanometer.
and Intel's still struggling with 10.
We might not see their 10 nanometer until 2021 or 2022. Because their next
That's right. Their next big processor release is in 2021.
We might not
Oh,
see
God.
we might not see that until 2112.
And what's interesting is that the next architecture release that they're going to do, their 11 series, is actually going to be a upsized 10 nanometer to 14. Who knows how much power that's going to draw?
Well, yeah, aren't they using Samsung's 14 nanometer though?
No,
Oh, no,
it's
I'm sorry.
their own internal.
They're moving some of their older generation chips that are still selling to Samsung's foundries because they can't. They're having too many yield issues with their current stuff.
Yeah. It's just weird stuff. Anyways, on to the next slide. It's just a teaser that they threw up. It's looking like the Radeon RX 6000 series, which has been announced, will support ray tracing, but no other word about speed, quality, whatever about it. But what they referred to as on this slide only, they didn't say what card it's going to be, anything else. This is just a hint, a teaser, and it's looking like, depending upon the resolution, it's going to be in between the 3080 and the 3090 as far as performance goes.
Wait, if these numbers aren't a joke and aren't estimates, if these are actual real world numbers, they're running games at 4K at above 60 frames a second on highest settings.
Yep. But we won't know for sure until the end of the month when they announce the big Navi.
Yeah, this is one of the interesting things. Intel doesn't really seem to give a rat's ass about competing with AMD. They're just going to keep doing whatever they want because
Quick note,
800-pound
They're
gorilla.
not talking about me.
No, Intel as in Intel computing. Whereas NVIDIA seems to constantly, like its internal divisions that are designing chips seem to fight with each other to constantly keep pushing themselves, which seems to be how NVIDIA keeps pushing out these really good cards, even if the performance isn't always as good as they say. Like 2 to 3 times more performance on the RTX 3K series. I'm just like, that sounds like BS. That sounds like you're picking and choosing statistics to wield to make you look better. And real world testings proved that one out.
And one important point, going rumor is that the RX 6000 series is only going to be using GDR6, not GDR6X. They feel that the power requirements necessary to run GDR6X is not worth it. They've done other tweaks to get the bandwidth going properly. Rumor is that they're having some kind of Infinity Fabric massaging that they're doing, like they do with their chiplet design between triplet and the rest of the system, as well as probably better caching on the chip itself. Probably actual cache,
chiplet.
as well as now my brain is just
mush.
Lost my train of thought.
Since he lost his train of thought, I'm going to point this out. As Judd gets more into what he's talking about, he moves more. And he looks like all finicky and twitchy. Like someone gave him too much drugs before we started this.
Yeah.
But that's just Judd.
Have you been drinking cocaine cola?
No, actually, ice water.
Ah.
No, that explains a lot.
So that explains why you're so hyper. You're just having all that water in you. Your body's going nuts, just going, we've got water!
Anyways, now I remember, it's only a 256-bit bus for the RAM. So they can do 8 gigs or
Only
16 gigs.
256 gigabit.
Only 256-bit. Whereas the 3080 is 320?
320 and 360. I remember looking at them going, there were odd numbers.
Yeah, that's why it's 10 gigs of RAM. And the 3090, why it's 24 gigs of RAM, is a 384-bit bus. So only 256-bit for its memory bus, but they're going to have 16 gig cards. and they can do a lot of 4K stuff where the 3080 is kind of iffy at, because some games actually do want more than the 10 gigs it has on the card.
Yeah, supposedly Call of Duty, the Call of Duty that's coming out they're suggesting a minimum of 12 gigs of RAM and saying it will use all 12 gigs. We're getting into the realm where games are using more memory on the video card than most systems have in total.
Yeah, looking at these 12 gig video cards, and it's like a lot of computers are still running 8 gigs of RAM. Remind me, Bunny, later to show you how to use studio mode in OBS.
Oh,
I'm using
Yeah, that way you
studio
can
mode.
you can move cameras around and preview overlays without having to actually have them on the screen.
Yeah. The thing is, her camera I adjust on the screen because she moves.
Mm.
I can take it off if I want to, but I don't want to. I'm actually in. I've been in and out of studio mode. Like right now, she's gone.
Oh, okay. It's just interesting because I'm watching you move the camera around, and like because I'm watching it like 20 seconds behind in the Twitch, it's just really interesting. It really, my brain's freezing up here.
I'm not gonna switch back and forth on monitors or layout modes during broadcast ever. You're not gonna catch me going between the different modes because it can sometimes cause this program to crash.
Mm.
Sometimes, you're talking about 70% of the time, Streamlabs is going to say, "I shit the bed," and
Oh, that's right. You're using Streamlabs.
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Judd.
It's okay. I was more or less done. One last thing is power requirements. The 3080 is sucking down somewhere around 300 watts. NVIDIA needed a new 12-pin connector for power. AMD is going to be using TSMC's 7nm plus node for these, and it's looking like it's probably only going to need around 200 watts, maybe 250.
Dang, it's not bad.
And Jim is got his headphones muted, so he can't actually hear us.
And that is okay. Jim will actually be covering his segment in the next podcast. As talked before this started.
Oh, he's not doing it this time?
He's actually not going to be doing his this segment on his Star Trek Continues because he wishes to watch more of it before going ahead and describing what is going on in his fan film section. So I'll go ahead and let him get away with it this time. Because we are actually out of time for tonight's podcast. Can you believe it? It's gone by so quickly. We've covered 2 hours in what feels like such a little amount of time. So I'm going to go ahead and pick someone to raid, and I hope you guys stick around long enough to help me fill their chat with tons and tons of heart emojis and outright love. But because Tom did this editing, I'll go ahead and switch over to it real quick.
The truth is Bunny really just wants to go feed her dinosaurs.
Actually, I fed them earlier, along with all of yours, because we had to retro the server because it shit the bed earlier.
I'm kind of wondering if I was partially responsible for that because I was mass producing crap last night, and I started noticing glitches.
Yeah, when you start noticing glitches, you're supposed to tell me.
It wasn't those kind of glitches. It's the kind of stuff that I normally see in game, which is a rendering issue where sometimes the client software just doesn't want to render stuff correctly. Where I don't know if it's server stuff I'll report, but I see crap like that where sometimes it doesn't render things out of view.
That's normal. That's not really glitching. That's just where you have your render viewpoint too.
Yeah. Anyways, on that note, I'm going to end my stream. See you guys all later.
Later.
Bum, 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 bum.
So if you stick with me, we're going to find someone to raid.